Right, my lovers, today we need to talk about the Premier League's best academy graduates. Alright then, I'm talking about the Premier League's best academy graduates because in recent weeks, football Twitter, it's just back and forward. Trent versus Reece James, Emile Smith Rowe versus Greenwood. It's tiresome, to be honest with you, but, you know, we need the views, and tiresome sometimes works. Now, we actually covered this topic on Saturday Social, you know, the show I'm on, Sky Sports, 9:30 every Saturday morning. Tune in. A couple of weeks ago with Statman Dave. And Statman Dave was pulling out some of the most ridiculous stats I've ever heard.
The technical side of his game is just is really underrated.
Yeah.
Think about progressive carries as well. He's something like 2,205 yards this season in the Premier League.
Look at that knowledge.
That is
Down to a yard. Niche stat, isn't it? 2,205. He's going to go.
Bang him in, eh?
Now, once we were off air and I watched this back, I thought to myself, oh, Dave, there's some in there that I don't necessarily agree with. So I thought, what better way to do it than do my own version of Saturday Social's tier list? Okay. Now, I have put a little bit of a Football Daily twist on it. I've changed up the categories slightly and I've picked some different academy graduates. I've gone for the 5 categories: elite, very good, decent, meh, and poor. Now, there are 3 academies in the Premier League that don't actually have an academy player in the first team squad, so I've not counted them. Okay? Feel like I'm saying okay? An awful lot. Also, just a little bit of criteria for you. The player has to have come through the academy system and still be at the same club. So, like, Jack Grealish doesn't count for Aston Villa because he's no longer at Villa, he's moved to City. I hope that makes sense. We're going alphabetically then, classic We Need to Talk fashion. And at Arsenal, there's a bit of a tough choice here, I think, between Emile Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka. I can only pick one academy graduate from each team. So I am going to have to select, I think, based on this season alone, Emile Smith Rowe. Even though potentially Bukayo Saka has the higher overall ceiling, that might cause a bit of controversy. Smith Rowe, though, this season has just been mustard, hasn't he? Just a shame, you know, couldn't do it last night, could he? Oh dear. Oh dear. Michael Carrick FC turning up. Oh no, Arsenal fans. Unlucky. But now, in all seriousness, 5 goals, 2 assists this season. What an amazing ball-carrying, dribbling, attacking midfielder Emile Smith Rowe is. I don't think he's in elite just yet, but he will be one day. I think I have little doubt about that. So I'm going to stick him in tier 2, very good for now, but I definitely think he can progress. Next up, we've got Jacob Ramsey. Now, he is an England under-21 player. I think he's played 12 games for the Villa this season. And Stevie G actually started him against Palace, if my memory serves me correctly. It's going to be interesting to see what Stevie G does with a player like Jacob Ramsey, because I do think he will want to embed a few youth elements into this side, as that will set the tone for a philosophy at the club. I think I'm going to have to set my stall out and put Jacob Ramsey in meh. He might move up later on in the show, but I think if I put him in decent early doors, there's some other names. I'm looking at the likes of Wilf Zaha. Where do I then put him? So for now, I'm going to put him in tier 4 in meh, but he might yet change, Jacob. Lewis Dunk is up next. What a servant he has been for Brighton, man. I read a stat the other day that he started 30 plus games for Brighton every single season since 2013. Ridiculous. He's obviously the club captain, and there are some little weird goings on at the moment at Brighton. The fans booing that performance at the weekend. Graham Potter wasn't happy about it either, was he? If you missed it, this is what he had to say.
At the end, the fans didn't sound too pleased. There were a few boos. What would you like to say to them?
Well, they're entitled to their opinion. I disagree with them completely.
And just explain a little bit more why.
Well, because you have to understand the game. You have to understand who we're playing against, how we played, what we did. I think we're sitting 8th in the Premier League, but maybe I need a bit of a history lesson of this football club.
And they have been on a bit of a poor run, but what do Brighton fans expect? I feel like they're already punching above their weight with Potter. Going back to Dunk, yeah, he's just middle of the park, isn't he? He is decent. What a committed centre-back. Now, I've been a bit cheeky with Dwight Mcneil because originally he came through Man United's academy, but then he did go to Burnley's academy and play significant time in Burnley's academy, so I think I can get away with it. And I actually really like Dwight Mcneil. I think he started 12 or 13 games this season. Very consistent, not a huge amount of goal contributions. In fact, I don't think he's got one yet this season, but I do think Dwight Mcneil could be playing at a better level. No offence to Burnley fans, but I think Dwight Mcneil easily could get in an Everton side comfortably. I think he could play higher up the division and would be an asset for a lot of teams that are battling for top 8 football. So I'm going to put Dwight McNeil in tier 3 because Jacob Ramsey's in tier 4 though. But no, Dwight McNeil for me has shown more over the course of his Premier League career than Jacob Ramsey. Admittedly, he's a little bit older, but I still like Dwight. I think he's got something in him. The next one was obviously a really difficult choice for Chelsea between Mason Mount and Rhys James. On Saturday Social, Statman Dave went for Mason Mount. I think I'm going to disagree. I think I'm going to go for Rhys James being the best academy player at the club at the moment. He's just frighteningly good. Like, absolutely ridiculous levels. 4 goals, 4 assists, I think, so far this season. And his underlying numbers, for a defender of his age, they're freakish. Alright, so here we have Rhys James's underlying numbers for the last 365 days. I mean, it's just... He's pretty much in the top 10 or 5 percentile of every major metric for a fullback in world football. And he's, 20? 21? If I've got Emile Smith Rowe in very good, I think Reece James, to be honest with you, is a level above where Emile Smith Rowe is right now. I think he is a contender for being the best right back in world football. I know we had that huge debate on Team Talk. If you haven't seen it already, that episode of Team Talk, Zach Jalab absolutely loses his head. But I am going to put Reece James in elite, and then I'm going to show you the clip of Zach Jalab losing his head.
Cancelo's got to be second. He can play on both sides and be one of the best in the league.
Reece James can play right back.
I don't need to say any more.
Reece James played right back, left back, and centre mid.
When's Rhys James played left back?
Yeah, but he could do. Absolutely fine.
Well, hypothetically, yeah.
Hold on,
you
you
can still be at left
think
back.
Rhys James is more tactically versatile than Cancelo?
Yes.
That is a phenomenal.
Borderline the ducks in a point.
Sorry, what do you mean?
No, I
He's
think
played
the Deuce's
centre-mid.
point is really strong here.
Wilf Zaha is up next then. I think he's the definition of sort of decent. 12 games this season. I think he's got 4 goals, 1 assist. He's definitely improving yet again under Patrick Vieira. It's just a shame for Zaha that the big move never came. I know he got the big move to United, but then it faltered under Moyes. He came back to Palace, and I think it's probably too late now. So Wilf Zaha, middle of the pack. Tom Davies at Everton up next. I think this might be our first tier 5. It's kind of harsh because on Saturday Social in our tier 5, we put all the teams that didn't have academy players coming through, like Brentford, who don't have an academy, who I've kind of glossed over today. But I want to make use of tier 5, and I think he has had a poor season, Tom Davies. 1 start so far this term. I don't know if he's injured or what's going on there because the side has been so crap recently. Everton fans, let me know if Tom Davies has been injured down in the comments below. But yeah, just underwhelming. I think he's out of contract in 2023. Do I see him renewing? Maybe not, Next up, we've got Calvin Phillips, England Men's Player of the Year for 2021, of course. 11 starts so far this season. Last year, he was a phenomenon in his first season in the Premier League. I remember saying on a podcast years ago that I thought Man United should have snapped Calvin Phillips up when he was in the Championship. He would be amazing for Manchester United under Ralph Rangnick. I'll put Calvin Phillips in very good. I think he could easily play for a club in the Champions League, easily, and be one of the best players in his position. So I'm putting Calvin Phillips in very good. I wonder how long Leeds will be able to keep hold of him, because he is a Leeds boy born and bred. They are sort of middling this season. I think they're going to improve once all their players come back from injury. The likes of Patrick Bamford and Luke Ayling and that get back to full fitness. So I think Calvin Phillips will eventually move, but I don't know where. Where do you guys think Calvin Phillips is going to go? I'm genuinely interested to hear this. Let me know in the comments below. Harvey Barnes, 11 starts this season, 1 goal, 1 assist. Not quite. Ever since he had that injury, he's not quite got it back yet, has he? Because pre the injury, he was flying. There was talk he was going to go to the Euros, and he hasn't quite got going yet. I do still think there's a player in there, but Leicester have been so underwhelming this season. And Harvey Barnes, it's just such a shame that injury happened. I feel like it's the worst possible timing for Harvey Barnes. I'm going to still put him in decent because he's proven to us he can play at a really, really high level. But I'm gutted for the lad. Trent Alexander Arnold up next at Liverpool. Obviously, he's going straight in elite. I think he's got the same amount of goal contributions as Rhys James this season, actually. If my memory serves me correctly, I think he's got 7 assists and 1 goal. Rhys James has got 4 and 4. These two, in terms of battling it out, Jesus Christ, man. Like, the level these two are producing from right back is like something I've never seen before. seriously, going back and forth. It's obscene. I don't know who's better at this stage. Like, Rhys James' development over the last 12 months has been outrageous, but Trent is just consistently amazing, and that's the reason we take him for granted. I still think Trent is maybe just ahead of him, but Rhys James is rapidly catching him up. So we've got a battle for the ages in this right-back role for years to come, by the way, lads. Phil Foden, let's not about with Phil Foden. He's going straight in elite, just a freak of nature. It's a bit of a shame he's picked up those injuries as well, isn't it, recently? But I'm sure when he's back, he'll slot straight back into that Pep Guardiola system. Probably the most naturally talented young English player we've got at the moment. I'd say he's the best academy graduate with the ball at his feet. Like, natural footballing ability, he's the best academy graduate in the league. I know that Trent, and we're going to talk about Harry Kane in a bit. Harry Kane's output's obviously amazing, but just on talent level, I think Foden is a freak. So he's obviously going in elite. Mason Greenwood is up next. I don't think he's quite at Phil Foden's level yet, Mason Greenwood. When he started the season, I thought this could be the season he gets like 15 goals. Obviously, Ronaldo's knocked him down the pecking order a little bit, and he's obviously had this really bad bout of COVID as well, hasn't he, in the last few weeks. So I'm going to put him in very good, but he has still scored 4 goals in, I think, 10 starts this season in the Premier League. So he's no doubt going to be an elite footballer, but his sort of development has been a bit stop-start just because of Man United signings. Sean Longstaff up next, another player I think I'm going to put in poor. I feel a bit harsh doing it, but Newcastle's level has just been shit this season. They have just been so bad. And Eddie Howe still hasn't been able to sort that defence out, has he? They're just leaking goals yet again. And we said it was going to be a problem under Howe. Can he come in and have an immediate impact on the defence? I didn't think he would be able to. It's been very, very short in terms of games. So I don't want to judge him yet, but they're still conceding at an alarming rate. And I just don't know whether Sean Longstaff is quite good enough for the Prem. Remember Man United, he bought him for 50 mil. What on earth happened there? Max Aarons up next, and he's looked really good since Dean Smith's come in, by the way. He's looked much improved, and I think Norwich have looked much improved. Against Newcastle, I was quite impressed how they're popping the ball around under Dean Smith. If he rescues them from relegation, it'll be an absolute miracle from the big man. So I'm going to put Max Aarons in decent. Again, another player, a little bit like Harvey Barnes, hasn't quite developed at the rate people thought he would, but I think he can play at a high level like Dwight McNeil. So Max Aarons is going in decent. James Ward-Prowse, I also think middle of the park. James Ward-Prowse is decent. I don't think he's quite very good, but an incredible servant for Southampton. One of James Ward-Prowse's most underrated attributes is his ability to stay fit. I think he pretty much plays 38 games every single season for Southampton, and that is no mean feat for a team that are sort of battling anywhere between 18th and 10th. Club captain as well, probably the best dead balls in the league, but I still don't think he's quite in the company of Calvin Phillips, so I'm going to put him in decent. Harry Kane up next. He's obviously going in elite based on his previous goal-scoring exploits. He's been way off it this season. 11 starts in the Premier League, just the 1 goal. Not sure what's going on there, although Spurs did look improved last night. That was one of the best I've seen them play this season. Probably the best performance so far of the Conte reign. Much better. He needs to start scoring some goals though, Kane. Like, badly. That £100 million, £150 million move to Man City is fading rapidly with the emergence of Haaland at 70 mil if he doesn't start scoring goals. So I think he will, but obviously he's going in elite. And then the final academy player, because of course Watford and Wolves don't have any academy players like Brentford in the first team setup, is going to be Declan Rice, who I think has been the best centre-mid in the league this season. And if you're the best player in a position in the Premier League, I think you've got to be in elite. His progression has been frightening, like Rhys James. Bernardo Silva as well, maybe, and Kovacic are also a candidate for the best central midfielder in the league so far this season. But for me, it's been Declan Rice. Who would have said that 12 months ago? Not many people. If I hear another person say Declan Rice, I think his future lies at centre-back. I'm jumping out this window. Honestly, his ball progression numbers and his progressive carries, shout out Dave for that stat, was it 2,205 yards? Absolutely ridiculous stat. Is insane. It's a whole new element to his game. And I was watching Monday Night Football with Jack Wilshere, was it? Or Friday Night Football, where he said that Declan Rice is the best finisher at West Ham. If he adds goals to his game, God, we've got a player. All right, so that was my tier list of the Premier League's best academy graduates ranked. It's not quite the same as Dave's because I had to use different categories, and I've also selected some different players to what Statman Dave did. If you want to go and watch my Saturday social video on Sky Sports, make sure you do that right now. Of course, tune in tomorrow as well, 9:30, Sky Sports Premier League, Sky Sports Football, all of the Sky Sports channels, I believe, for an hour. It's me and Zach Jalab in the hot seat tomorrow. Let me know what your thoughts were on the tier list. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you later. See ya.